Mr. Richard Bonehill.
Right. Good afternoon, everybody. Who was here this morning? Was that everybody? Quite a lot, right, so you know where I'm coming from, what I do, basically. Just so I know, are there members here of reenactment groups that do fight? Excellent. So your period is medieval.
100 years war.
100 Years War, right? And any particular period?
Yeah, World War II.
World War II. Not many swords.
But that's true.
But,
Viking to medieval.
sorry?
Viking to medieval.
Viking to medieval. Oh, Vikings. The name terrifies me.
9th century.
Can I have any more light in here? Just in this centre of the bit. Okay.
That was last.
It's going darker. It was almost there.
Two ambience now.
Randomly press a button.
Yes, that's what I'm doing.
Excellent.
Yes.
Wonderful. That's great. Thank you very much. Okay. We've only got an hour and a half, so time is very, very short. So I can't teach you all to be expert fighters. Okay? It does take years. I've been fighting for 45 years and I still can't get it right. So it does take a long, long time. As I explained to you this morning, my job is as a sword master and a double on films and television. And I specialise in horse and sword work, which means that I have to know a fair amount about history and a fair amount about fighting techniques. What normally happens is I'll get a phone call from a producer who says, I want you to work on this particular thing, I'll send you a script. By the way, we've got no money. And I say, you're talking to the wrong person. I want loads and loads and loads of money. You get the script, you have a look. If you feel like doing it or you're absolutely broke and you've got no money, you say, right, you go and do it. You read the script and then you go and see the director. And the director, obviously the most important man on the film, you have to be nice to him and flatter him and be his friend and find out what his vision is. And this is the most important thing. Because you can read a script, I've done it before, and you read it and you think it's comedy. And when you come to do the fight, you realise it's deadly serious. Or the other way around, it can be deadly serious and in fact it's a comedy. So you've got to be extremely careful and don't take anything for granted. As I said this morning, my job is to make something look as exciting as possible, but to be absolutely safe. And when I say absolutely safe, I mean absolutely safe. It isn't so bad in single combat. Battle scenes are a nightmare because you've got 200 or 300 people all fighting in a castle or a field. You've got horses going down, you've got explosions going off, so the actual incidence of accidents are obviously higher. Most times, if it's organised properly, you will get an accident where someone goes like that and someone else, I'm fighting someone in front and someone else gets it in the back of the head. Therefore you have to be aware of your space. Once I've spoken to the director and got the job, I then have to do a bit of research into the period and try and make the fight fit the period. Now obviously it's very, very important that you get it correct. The further you go back, the least you know. So you can actually make up quite a lot. But actually what is possible, you can find out a lot of the time by the weapons that you use and by the costumes that you're in. I'd like to thank the people who have come dressed up, because we're going to use them as guinea pigs a bit. And you will see that there are certain things that just aren't possible. So you could, for instance, design a fight with a certain moving. And once you get dressed up in the armour, you can't do it. So you've got to be aware of the limitations of the weapons and of the costume and of the set. The next thing, once I've worked out what we're going to do is I would employ, if I'm not working it myself, I would employ stunt doubles who I will work out the fight with. I will then get the principals in, the stars, if you like, and come and find a secret place to try and rehearse. When I say a secret place, it's because when you're in pre-production of a film and there's perhaps not all that much going on, all the local, if you're on location, all the local press and everybody want to come in and film it because it's the only thing that's going on. I hate this for two reasons. One is, you wouldn't ask a star to go on camera while he's learning his lines. So you don't do it to a big star, you know, it makes him look stupid. The other thing is, a lot of them will start, as soon as you turn the camera on, they'll start going mad and running before they can walk. So you try and keep all the press out as much as possible. If you've got a big actor, they're treated like gods. And they're in a very strange position as they're going back to school, if you like, and trusting me to teach them how to fight and not to get hurt. So, you get your actors in. The next thing you have to do is liaise with the costume department. Find out what they're dressed in. If possible, put it on, see what you can do in it. Arrange the weapons. I'll go into that in a moment. Have a look at the set. You know, you get to the set and you find the ceiling's this tall. Oh God. All my moves I've done up there, you can forget about. Or all of a sudden the director's decided that you're waist deep in water. So all the moves you've done down there, you can forget about. Okay? So it's quite complicated. So you're then, normally, you don't get to rehearse on the set because it isn't built yet. So what you have to do is find a rehearsal place, get the dimensions of the set and start marking it out on the floor. So you know that you've got a pillar here and you've got a man with a camera in the corner. Once you've worked out exactly what you're doing with the stunt doubles or whoever you're working with, you do a lighting, you do a fight plot, and you give it to the cameraman and the DOP, director of photography, so you can start working out how it's actually filmed. The techniques that I use for film are different to what you would use for television, are different to what you would use for stage fights, are different to what you would use for reenactment or living history. Very, very different techniques. Some things working around other things don't. So, the first consideration you have to look for is your weapons, your period. I've got here a 1796 light cavalry sabre. This is, in fact, a very light one. They are normally a lot thicker than that. And wonderful, wonderful weapon to use. Not too heavy, lots of nice big cuts, and quite flashy, and comes from a fantastic period, Napoleonic period. This is an original one. This is normally they have a steel scabbard. This one is for a volunteer officer, so it's quite light. But if you use this, you would only fight in a certain kind of style. Now, you asked earlier about the film called The Duelist, and the second fight in The Duelist uses these, which is only a short fight, but I think is really fantastic, which is what I'd like to show you. So just have a quick look at this.
I do the first opportunity.
He's come to arrest somebody else for dueling.
And you are under arrest now for dueling, you ape! Now! You fight now. Where? Go on. Second one. 1 second. I'll 5 seconds. Hold on. Stand here. Now watch me.
into living daylights over each other. Something like that seems very simple. Obviously, it takes a lot of work. In normal circumstances, with leading artists, you will use dummy swords. This is a medieval sword. If I just borrow one of yours for a moment. This is a steel sword. This is made out of rubber, basically. If you can get away with it, you always use wooden, carbon fibre or rubber swords. They're lighter. You can't do people too much damage. You can still make it look fantastic. For close-ups, you would use this kind of thing because you get a nice shine off the blade, obviously. All right? But wherever possible, you use something like that. I've worked with reenactment groups in the past. They're used quite extensively now, instead of using stuntmen, because they are cheaper. They are more enthusiastic. They will do it for a
Pint.
They will come down, all camp out in their tents, don't have to pay their hotel bills. They will work from noon to from dawn till dusk for absolutely nothing, with great enthusiasm. The problem is, a lot of them have no discipline whatsoever and are very unsafe. Lots and lots of enthusiasm, but you have to be right on top. This is not an unfair criticism. I worked with a load of Vikings and they scared me rigid. They turned up, all big guys with bellies out here, beards down here, and scars all over them. And the director thought they were wonderful, absolutely great. And I was talking to him and I said, "Where did you get the scars?" And he said, "Oh, I lost that finger at the battle at so-and-so, and I got this one at the battle of so-and-so." And I'm like, I'm turning white.
Not all Viking groups are like that.
Not all Viking groups.
Especially nowadays.
No, not all of them are. And as I say,
I'm associated with a very safety-minded.
excellent. This particular lot that I work with, and I know this is generalising a bit, but you know, obviously I can't afford any injuries whatsoever. So I would say to them, show me a routine. You know, go away. You've got a day, work out a routine. And they would come back with maybe 6 strokes. And I'd say, well, what happens then? Oh, then we just hit each other. And you go, oh my God. But fantastic to work with in as far as enthusiasm and everything else. I mean, one of the problems that I had on one particular film is they all turned up with these wonderful weapons and I gave them all wooden swords. And they weren't very happy about that. But obviously, for safety reasons, you have to do it. Battle scenes are, as I say, very, very difficult to do, to make them good. Obviously, if you gave an actor a real two-handed sword like this, they find it very, very difficult. Especially, they find it difficult to stop it, which is what half of it is about. Actually showing the intention. And it all goes backwards from there. And then being able to stop it, you know, within an inch. And of course, a lot of actors you only have for rehearsal for a short amount of time. Very, very quickly, just running through some of these swords, because we haven't got much time. This is also a medieval sword with a loose guard. This is made from duralium, which we will use for principal fights. It's a very hard type of aluminium. Hard but not brittle. So, quite light, so you can, you'll all have a chance to handle these a little later. So you can use these quite nicely. The only problem is they do burr up down the sides there. And you have to have a good armourer. In between every take, we'll be filing these off. Hopefully filing them flat. Not a good idea. I've showed you the 1796. These are 2 17th century weapons. A rapier and a cup hilt. Now these have modern épée fencing blades in. Basically because they're not going to break on you. Unfortunately, they make a horrible sound. Absolutely horrible. Good for stage fighting. I did a production of Cyrano de Bergerac I don't like working in the theatre, basically, because they tend to get you along for a couple of weeks rehearsal and then tell you to go away again. And you come back 3 weeks later into the run and you look at the fight and it's nothing like what you did in the first place and become terribly, terribly dangerous. There was one fight I did not long ago and the guy playing Serrano was absolutely wonderful. And he'd done the whole run without anything going wrong. And I was there on the last night to say thank you to everyone. He comes in for his fight, does that, and the sword flies off into the audience. And we've got a packed house. And he goes, bonk, and misses. Thank God. But it's the simplest things when you're not actually too worried about, you know, what could go wrong? Drawing the sword. You let go of it. That's what can go wrong. As swords went on, the curved sword becomes straighter. This is an 1855 British cavalry sword as used in the Boer War. This is an original sword in lovely condition. Still basically a cutting weapon with a bit of point work. And then the final sword, which the British Army used, which they used up World War I, and in fact even up to World War II, is this one, the 1912 pattern cavalry sword. This is an officer's example. This belonged to an officer of the 11th Hussars that was injured in the Somme, came home, recovered, decided to join the Royal Flying Corps of all things, and then crashed and killed himself on a training session. So he was a bit unfortunate, it's kind of called arkwright. Finest cavalry sword ever made, basically. Heavily tested, a point weapon for use on a horse. And this is what most of the dress swords are based on. Of course, Japanese work, which is particularly kind of topical for Jedi Knights, because your stance is like this. These are called bokken, which are wooden swords, which you will use for practicing. Again, very, very important. You take a swipe at another one, and you're going to break it. So you've got to be able to pull what you're doing. If ever your opponent doesn't make his parry, then you've got to be able to stop. However, you've got to make it look real. Right? The amount of effort that you put into it depends on the weight of your sword. Simple as that. And the period. You know, you can be extremely fine if you're 16th century or more brutal. Therefore, the fight has to fit the period. Of course, this doesn't always happen. They did a Three Musketeers a few years ago where they used a fellow from Hong Kong to do all the fights. And it was kung fu and somersaults and all sorts of things. But there is nothing more powerful than a real fight, either in the cinema or actually in the theatre. People don't realise how violent a fight is. None of us ever see fights anymore. Very, very few of you will have seen a real fight or been involved in one. You see it on television. When you see it for real, completely different thing. And of course, it's far more violent than you could ever imagine. In real life, if you kick someone in the testicles, they're on the floor being sick. They do not jump up and come back at you. All right? Just punch them in the kidneys. They're down on the floor. That's it. Finished. But obviously, for dramatic purposes, you want the fight to go on longer. Right, I'm done enough talking, so I want to get into a bit of fighting, and we're going to use some of our guinea pigs. And we're going to have a look at just a few different styles. Before we do, I just want to show you a little clip, and this is number 6, please. 1966, Orson Welles did a film called Chimes at Midnight. Can we lower the light on that one? Yeah. On this one? And it is actually, can you hold it a second? Sorry. It's actually an amalgamation, it was a project of his. He had no money to do it. And it was an amalgamation of 5 Shakespeare plays. And it tells the story of Falstaff, basically. And you'll see Falstaff in this. He's running about, big fat guy in an armour. Falstaff was a braggart, and he wanted, you know, was full of all the wonderful things he did in battle. This is the Battle of Shrewsbury, where basically he ran around and hid all the time. Now this, he had no money to do this, okay? So if he went to, he was director and producer of it. If someone, a director will normally go to a producer and say, I want 200 horsemen coming over the hill, and he says, right, you've got 8. And you make them look like 200. Nowadays, with CGI, computer-generated imagery, it's a bit different. If you want 10,000 horsemen, you've got 10,000 horsemen. Okay. This battle, I think, is one of the most powerful ever filmed. It looks dated, but it is really, really powerful stuff. And a lot of battles you will see now have been based on this one. There's full stop. Telling everyone to get going. I think that, more than anything, any other battle scene I've ever seen, gives you the feeling of what it was like to be in a battle. Right? And, you know, mud, smoke, being clubbed to death by some idiot who comes at you from behind. Very, very powerful. Having said that, you don't have to show that. If we have time, I'll show you another one later from a Japanese film called Kagemusha.
Oh, yeah.
Wonderful film, which some of you know, by Kurosawa. The end battle, you never see. Just this massive, massive cavalry charge. And his attention is on the faces of other people and on guns going off. And all you see is the aftermath of the battle. So if any of you ever making films or anything, you know, you don't have a lot of money, you don't have to show everything. It's exactly the same with single combat. It is the acting moments in the combat which are important. The pauses in the combat. Besides the look of the whole thing, that's what makes it really, really good. Again, at the end, I'd like to show you Rob Roy, which is something that I was involved in, which I think is an amazing fight. Really, really good. But we had a lot of time to do it. Now, we're going to actually do a bit of physical stuff. I have some volunteers who very, very kindly have said, and we didn't organise this at all, so they very kindly said they were going to do a little bit of demonstration, which they haven't actually rehearsed today, but we're going to walk through it first. And then I'm going to pull it to pieces, which is a horrible thing for me to do. But hopefully we'll all learn a little something from it. Okay? So, whenever anybody is starting cold, first thing you do, of course, they've done their warm-ups, haven't you? Yes? Good. You've done half an hour of footwork and warm-up, so you're not going to tear any muscles or anything. You clear the area, make sure no one is in danger. Especially me. We're not too bad with the height in here, all right? And as I say, this is very kind of the people, I didn't ask them to do this. We're going to have a look at something medieval. We'll have a look at something in dodgy tight fighting. And we'll hopefully have a look at Jedi Knight stuff fighting.
They're ready to telescope.
Someone asked me about Princess Leia the other day. They said, in that costume in Jedi the Hutt, oh, isn't it fantastic? Okay, so are you happy with the space that you've got here?
Yeah.
All right. So the first thing you do is you just walk through it really, really slowly.
Slowly.
Just no speed at all, just like this. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay.
All right? Because we're not looking for a big show. We're just seeing what it's going to look like. Slow, no, whoa.
That was slow.
Far, far, far too fast. Okay? Too much enthusiasm. All right? I don't know how many times you've done this, so how good you are at it. Okay? So I don't want anybody to get hurt. So I'm literally talking
Slow.
1, 2. I will be more impressed if nothing goes wrong.
Slow.
Slow.
Go on.
Up slow.
Slow.
That's it. Talk to each other.
Slow. Slow.
Yes.
Can I drop the shield?
Yeah?
Hey, crap. We're getting too fast again, aren't we? We're getting too fast. Too fast, Bob. Too fast. Too fast. Too fast, Bob. Too fast. Getting too slow. We could do a routine where we just attack and leave the person and swim the ground.
Is there an end?
Well, do you want us to?
Have you got an ending for it?
Yes, we do.
That's, it's not the rehearsed ending, it's just
This is on the rehearsed. We just did the slow fighting, as you said, to do things slowly.
Have you got to the end of this routine?
We can do.
Have you got an ending so
Yes,
I can
we
just
have.
have a look at the ending?
Yes, we have. We'll make it quick.
Talk to each other so you know where you're going from. That was quick. Excellent. Well, that's it. Sit down, have a rest. Exhausting. I thought I was going to die of old age then. That's a hell of a routine. Okay. You're going to stay where you are. Right. Come and stand over there. I don't like people being behind me. Okay. Just another round of applause. Thank you very, very much. I'm very grateful for that. It means that I didn't have to leap around a lot. Now, I'm going to give you some pointers, which hopefully you could bring into your routine.
Okay.
Okay? First of all, please take whatever I say in the best... Alright, because I'm not being nasty.
No, of course not.
Halfway through, I lost the will to live. It was a long routine, and there wasn't much exciting going on.
Well,
I know you slowed it down.
We normally have a different routine, but we didn't do that. We didn't do the show routine that we do.
Okay.
It was just
Fine.
messing around a bit.
All right. The one thing the things that is always difficult when you're working with a shield, besides keeping it on, is that you don't get into this situation. Shield, shield. Okay? Shield upon shield. That's not, if you were trying to kill somebody, right, I wouldn't be looking to hit his shield. Although it's on the right hand side, I would be looking to find anywhere else. Go there, maybe go there. Alright? The other thing is that there were far, far too many cuts towards the face. And a couple that you came over the top and you did your head parry, right, lower, which ended up like that, which is dangerous. Okay? I will never, when I'm doing a routine, I will never ever have anything at the face, ever. Unless it's a set-up shot, like the camera is behind me here, and I can do that. Alright? Or it's an insert. As far as live shows are concerned, this is the highest you ever want to go. So you can do a nice big cut to there. If something goes wrong and your parry isn't there, then the worst you're going to do is hit somebody on there. No fight is ever worth anybody losing an eye or getting their nose cut in half. Okay? Now, so you've got to think of not coming into this kind of bang, 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 bang situation. Now, I know you were doing it slowly and everything, so these are just points that I'm picking up on that I would do with anybody. What you don't want to do is to get into a kind of situation, if even say you've lost these, and I see this so often, is where you're doing air shots up here. Just come up with me, this way, right? So it's like two kids fighting in the playground. That's what they do, bang, 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 bang. The whole idea of having a sword fight is not to hit the other person's blade, it's to hit them. Alright? So you need intention in your shots. That's what I was talking about earlier, about stopping. And you've got to think of how this would be and how heavy it is. Now, if I was fighting against this guy, who's got this kind of thing in, I wouldn't be thinking that I've got to do this. I would be thinking, I've got to do this. Bang! I've got to break his arm. I've got to make it. So any parry that he does, he's not going to stop me. Right? You do that one. Right? I'm going to come straight down like that and split him in right the way through. Alright? You like that, don't you?
You mentioned you're married.
And this will lead to the fighting technique that you want. First of all, make it more physical. Slow it down. Don't go straight into it. Move round. Come on, guard. Right? Move round. Be ready. Right? Here I come. Alright? I wouldn't step into it if I were you. I'd be running away from it. I'd get out of there. Alright? The likelihood is, and you can make your fight a lot simpler. The likelihood is, I'm going to come from this side. Right? You are not going to actually put your shield there, but it's going to be there at the last moment. When it comes through like that, and I'm giving it plenty here, boom, it knocks you to the other side of the room. Right? So, through, bang! No, knocks you over there. Right? Bang! Your head goes back. It hardly touched you, did it? Whack, whack. Right? The other type of thing you can do, obviously, is that it will knock you in the direction of the blow. And then instead of you two fighting in this direction, you start getting this lovely circular movement. All right? So, this time, just put it out that way a little bit. So, it'll be coming round to there. Then it will actually knock you in that direction, right? Okay? This brings me round to this side. So, if you then cut about here, bang, bang. So I've got that kind of movement, which is nice. Okay, so you're now looking at the beginning of a routine. So, now we're walking this through. So you do it very, very, very slowly. So I come in, you go around that side, in you come, bang! So we've now almost moved through 365 degrees. No dangerous cut at all. Okay? Sorry, I keep talking to you, I should be talking to everybody. You've got this movement going that way. You've got him coming in, and movement sword to sword. Alright? Nice big one over the top. Now, talking about the head cut. What I want you to do is slowly cut to my head. Right? Give it a nice big one and stop it, please. I'm going to be doing that. Alright? Ready? Go. Good. Excellent. Now, if I came up against this guy on battlefield, who looks, how much do you weigh? 100 kilos? What's that? In English. 16.5 stone. Christ. 16, I'm 12 stone. I come up against 16.5 stone. If he comes at me, and the blood is up in him, and I've seen this happen so many times in battles, people's blood comes up. If he does that, I have no hope of stopping him. No matter how strong I am, the force of that is going to come straight down and cleave me in two. So what I do is I get out of the way of it as quickly as possible. Again, giving you nice movement. So, again, I want you to come over the top here. Right? Now, that can go right the way through and what is known as a seeding parry. In as far as you're so strong, it comes right the way round like that. And then gets me back. Still got your coffee. You answer, I'll find you. And comes back into that situation. Alright? If you want to move in this direction, and again please, I'm coming down that way. The only thing you've got to be careful is you don't leave your foot there and it gets cut off. If I want to go in this direction, and again, I will go that way, and that gives me a nice swing round to there. Alright? As I said, nothing to the face. If you're going to do it to the face, the other person gets out the way of it and lets it go through. Also, with this kind of weapon, if you're going to do a parry, so I come to here, it doesn't just want to be a parry like that. As you come through, so come to here, that's it. Right? It's going to push you out of the way. Unless you're really strong, and then you can actually push it that way. But think about it. Hard, physical stuff. The other thing is that this kind of, you just saw in Chimes of Midnight, lots and lots of physical stuff, which will bring colour to your routine. So, it's very kind of you. Think about the routine that you're making up, and think about the openings that you've got. So, for instance, come at my head again. I'm thinking, right, I'll get out of the way of that. I'll whack him round that. He's going to come down here, and I'm going to, stay where you are, and I'm going to push him like that. Okay? Also, if he's wearing, I don't know what he's wearing, alright? your last stroke that you did, for instance. You can use lots and lots of physical stuff. It doesn't actually mean that you're going to kill him. You can hit him with the side. What I want you to do is just take your arms up like that. Okay, and that. As though he's coming in. This is your final death blow. It all comes backwards. It's all coming from, the energy is from there. So it comes backwards. So basically, you just touch it. Didn't hurt, did it?
I'm very white. Steve's gone very, very white.
Now, if you have a piece of meat and you have a really sharp, you can try this, really sharp knife, and you do that, it's going to bounce off the top of the meat.
Yeah.
Might go in it a bit. If you're going to cut it in half, you do that. Okay. And most people, when they're doing a routine, go too quick. So think about it. Same thing again, please. He comes in, he's going to hit me right over the head there. Same thing again, come down. So give it a lot of that, all right? But hold that up. I step inside, bang! That's where his reaction is. His first reaction. Oh, shit, right? So, lift the shield up, bang! This is where your death cut is. Turn the blade. Wah! That's when he goes down. Hopefully, he goes down. Okay? So, have you tried getting down on your knees? I think it will be extremely difficult. Good thing, just, limitations of the costume. If you've done that, and he's got to go bang, and he can't do it, he's going to cripple himself, then you can't put that in a fight. In Rob Roy, in my first fight in Rob Roy, Guthrie, are you alright? Sorry. Guthrie, was a young man playing Gilbert Martin, had his costume, he said, right, I want this up here, show my muscles, and he's got a kilt on, being Scottish. I said, no, you want those down there, over your elbows, so you put pads on, and you want trousers, you can get away with it. No, we're fighting on a stone floor. First time he goes like this, drops to his knees. Can I have some pads, please? Alright, so you get padded up as much as you possibly can. Can I borrow you now for a second? You have a rest for a second. Thank you very much indeed. Can I ask you to kneel down?
Sure.
Right. So, following on from the last bit, we just cut him in half like that. He's now down. Alright? This is a serious fight. How nasty do you want it to get? It can get very nasty indeed.
Can I plead the fifth?
You can plead anything you like, you're not getting out of it. Obviously, in armour, half the time you're looking to break their limbs anyway. You weren't looking to actually get through. But there are chinks in armour, in between the plates. So this is where you want to go for it. Get in there. Your squire, normally with a dagger, would come in, would do that. Obviously, there's the old bye-bye head. Head goes off, but you need a bit of special effects for that. Really. Right.
Yeah, sure.
Would you pick up that? And if you're doing live, that's what I'm saying. If you're doing live fighting, you don't have all the things that you have in film. You can't do special effects. You can do a certain amount of blood, but just remember, if you're doing blood, next time you've got to go home and wash the shirt.
Yeah,
it's a problem, and you ruin your costumes all the time. So you've got to be careful of how you do it. Now the other thing is that you want to never ever get in a position. Is this your sword? Right. Of actually waiting in a position for the other person to do something. So the thing that looks worst of all is, for instance, go like that with your shield towards me. I'll hit the shield then. Alright? That wants to be away. There. Alright? You know I'm going to hit your shield, don't you? So you leave it to the last possible moment. In I come. Okay?
Yeah.
Again, don't step into it, you're going to get killed. Step back from it.
Right.
In it comes. Exactly. Alright? Leave yourself clear for your overhead shot coming there. That's your natural reaction, isn't it? Go back, whee, bang, there.
Yeah.
Good, excellent. Alright? Exactly the same with a parry. It's all to do with timing. So leave that there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to come down here and I'm going to parry here. You're going to parry like that. Alright? So, on guard, here we go. I come round like that. Exactly. Don't have it there to begin with. Have it somewhere else. I noticed in your routine, you were doing some of these down here. Alright? It's a good idea to wherever your blow is going to, it comes from the opposite direction. So if I'm coming to your seal, the preparation back there will come horizontally. And when you see it going back, you know where it's coming to.
Yeah.
There. So if I'm coming down here, right, I would come from up there to your low parry.
Yeah.
There. Right? So there are no surprises. And of course, the big thing, let me put this down. As I say, is to pull your punches. Now, I'm very brave, but I'm not that brave. Right, so what I want you to do is lots of intention, like this. Bang!
Okay.
And hit me in the stomach.
All right.
But stop. Payback time.
Okay.
All right?
Did that hurt?
No, it didn't hurt. If you like, what you can do at the very last moment is turn your wrist
Make it flat.
so you
Yeah.
do it like that.
Yeah.
Lots and lots of intention. And timing.
Okay.
And of course, if you're in a battle situation, you've got to know that there is no one behind you. So when you take your sword back like that, you don't find you've got a horse on the end of it. I'm going to come at you from here. Right? So I'm going to go. Last time I did this, I spent 3 months in hospital. Ready? 1. Right. Didn't look real.
Didn't?
No.
I should have stopped.
No.
No?
You need more going backwards.
Okay.
And then
all right. Okay. Okay.
Right. I'm going to stand still this time because I'm making it. Don't go back. You right?
Okay.
By coming towards you, I add to the problem.
Right.
All right. So if I just stand like this, right? Now you're going to produce this death blow to me. Wait till I'm ready.
Practicing. Yep.
When you're ready.
Okay.
Start from forward here.
Okay.
Good.
I almost come over you.
Good. Come this way. What you did,
Yeah.
sort of. Up, right? You came to here,
Yeah.
right, and you were like that.
Yeah.
So you've got to stick the palms of your feet, coming to there.
And pull it away. Okay.
This is when you want to be careful there's no burrs on here, because when you put it through you find I don't have a t-shirt left. Ready? Start from here. Start from here. Right. Remember, all the violence is going backwards. So scream, scream!
Okay.
Marion, swear at him in German.
Yes, swear at me in German!
Thank you. Yeah, that's better.
Ready, here we go.
Okay. Du Deck, du Kleiner.
Anybody spot the deliberate mistake? She hit me here in the chest.
Yes, I did.
Okay, that's where my ribs are.
I should have went there.
Walk away with crap ribs. In my big fat belly, all right?
What then?
I'm working on it. Yeah. That's it. You can never be too careful. You check your safety all the time.
Yeah.
All right? Good. All right? Much
Is
better.
that better?
Yeah. Now you can practice that, kids, at home. Stand in a room, right? Do this. So you're just tapping.
Cool.
All right? So the main things that hopefully you've learnt today, all right, is first of all, don't be the normal thing. Shield, sword, shield, sword. Don't do anything to face at all, ever. All right? It's just not worth it, unless it's particularly end of a fight. You've got something worked out. Lots of movement round in circles.
Yeah.
Don't be frightened to put pauses in a fight. You know, God, I can't remember what's happening next. Happens all the time.
Yeah.
Right? And keep it relaxed. Always only do it within 10% of your top speed. So you've got, if something goes wrong, you've got 10%. Okay. Thank you guys very much.
Excuse me a minute, just 1 second.
No, you don't get that. What date is this costume?
Say 1588, since we have Armada.
Left-handed, that's fine. Turn sideways. Put it down like that.
Yeah.
Right, what am I going to aim for? Okay. I fought in a costume very similar to this. Lovely. Give me this any day. Right? Don't give me one of these things. Too much hard work. This, you've got nice boots.
It hasn't got the
Don't know how to make, but nice boots.
it hasn't got the padded belly that they would normally have, that one.
No.
It's natural padding.
Right. One of the biggest things, when I said earlier that you work with costume to try and make it as nice as possible, is your shoes. Especially if you're doing like Three Musketeers or Armada Bergerac, they give you boots like this with great big high heels on them, like that. And the most injuries I've ever seen is when people just twist their ankle and go over. So what you try and do is get nice flat boots like that. Absolutely wonderful. With leather soles, with rubber soles, not leather. Leather you will go all over the place, especially on mud. Wet ground is probably the worst. Wet, leafy ground. I'll show you a little tip in a moment. All right? It's really, really bad. Terrain is very, very important. Lots of movement here. No particular problem. Nice, free flow of air. And a wonderful look. All right? The only thing they could probably stitch you up on is give you a big hat with a feather in it. So what you do is you rush into the room and go, ha! And whip your hat off. And the costume department says, no, we need it. We need him with the hat for the next scene. All right? Okay. So we're now looking at a different period. Whereas with medieval, you're either single-handed or double-handed, square on. Now they finally come up with the idea of a rapier, a point weapon, not so much cutting. In fact, let's make it as long as we can. And some of them were 7 foot long. You couldn't wear it, but it kept you away from the other. The whole stance is different. It's now become more formalized, and it's more, although it is still three-dimensional, and if you're using a main gauche, a left-handed dagger, you're more like this. But your stance has begun to go more like modern fencing. Hand perhaps up here, keep away from me. Right, come on, guard. Right, hand on top, fingers on top. Right, like that. Fingers on top. Have you ever done any sword work?
Not for a long.
Oh, right. Good. Okay. So, hand around here. That's too modern. All right? So think about hand in here. Maybe you've got a lantern in it, a cloak, some kind of dead cat. And it is. Keep away, keep away, keep away, keep away. All right? Look at each other. And then more movements coming in fast, using nice footwork. So, come on, guard. Now basically, I don't want you to do anything, so I don't run onto your sword. But, obviously, if you're doing competition fencing, you use very small, fast movements. For film, you won't see them, so you make them bigger. This being a romantic kind of period, you use romantic movements. So, for instance, I might come in like this. No, don't move. Sorry. Yeah, you're on a fight. Right? I might come in like this. By which chance you would be back over the other side of the room. All right? So as I come in, I sweep it aside, and off you go that way. And we also see the body is now turned sideways. Okay? Reason for that? Smaller target, for God's sake, isn't it? Absolutely right. Remember, this is where all the vital organs are. Here. Lungs, heart, spleen, kidneys. What you really want to go for is the lungs, because they're bigger than anything else. You stick it in, nothing will happen, you pull it out, they're filled with blood, and it's down. Like a ton of bricks. Don't think about wounding it, just think about it. Alright? So, we're looking at more this kind of, careful, stay back. Now, distance. I can kill him from here easily. Right? I can kill him from here. So, keep away, keep away. Alright? More flourishing movements. For instance, one thing we didn't do earlier, give me your thing, is this type. You know, a nice little bind, sweep him over. There. Give him a beat as well. I mean, to do this would take days and days and days. Right? There are other parries that you can do, which look extremely nice. Relax for a second. Which look extremely nice. For instance, this one here. Lovely looking parry. What's good about this is the camera can do you a big close-up with your sword in here. Right? Step back, bang, ha! Forward. This one. Also good. Big camera shot. Here. Bang. Smile. There. Right? Hanging parries. This one. Absolutely useless. Wouldn't stop a butterfly. Right? What I want you to do is just to lunge and attack me there. Just a nice little tap. Alright? So, ready? Go. Okay? Looks very, very good. I can do a number of things from here. I can sweep right over the top and hit him. Or I can push him that way. Or I can actually try the old two-handed down to there. Kick to the back. Alright? If you're using a cloak, obviously you can treat him like a bullfighter.
Could you do that one again?
No. From here, right? He comes in and he lunges to this side. Now that's an important point I haven't actually made. Here, all I do is use my fingers, push him over to that side, step in and kick him. Alright? Lots of shoulder barging, lots of kicking, but kicking in the right way, not kung fu kicks. Not that I could do them anyway. Kung fu kicks would look completely wrong. However, a nice good kick in the groin, there, or in the head, absolutely fine. You like the kicks in the head, don't you? Right, I will show you one quick one. Actually, before I forget. Death beats. If you're playing to an audience. If you're playing to one side, proceed me march. It's quite easy. If you're playing in the round, it's a bit more difficult. Come on, guard. You are going to lunge. Bring that foot forward. Straighten your back legs. Like that. Okay? And you're going to kill me. Because the audience is on... Stand over here. Because the audience is in this side, we've been fighting in the round, lots of things going on. And I know the death bit's coming up. So I've got us to the back of the stage here. So we're square onto the audience. And all you have to do is to straighten your arm and lunge on that side of me. Oh! Don't leave it there. Let go. Ah! If you're going to do a kill, right, just come and go. Just stand with your arms up, please. You do it quick. Before the audience have even seen it. Right? Then he can do his 5-minute death scene. You don't want people staggering around the stage and then going, oh, whoops. Unless you want it funny. Now, if you want it funny, then great. Absolutely great, you know, have one of them. Thank you very much indeed.